Hi, welcome to Soul Movement. My name is Amy and I am the founder and facilitator of Soul Movement Dance, and I am in my home making this video in the Northern Rivers. I have my wild woman hair happening today. I just wanted to talk about dance and what dance means to me, and a little bit about the kind of birthing of soul movement and how that came about, and what it means. I often, when I'm explaining ecstatic freeform dance to people, I find it easier to actually use a bit of movement to bring that forward, and so I'll do some of that in this video as well, just to explain. There are 6 qualities in the soul movement dance that I go through with dance, and I'll also make another video where I'll give you a little taste test of that too, and we can do something where you can dance along with me, which means you can rewatch that at any time and do that as well. But I just want to talk a little bit about when I was first exposed to isn't the right word, but when I first experienced movement, because I just really value movement, and I value a lot of different forms of movement too. I'm wishing that my little mic lapel was working now. I couldn't get it working for this video. And the first movement that I experienced that absolutely blew my mind, and I talk a little bit about this in my website, was Kundalini dance. It's not Kundalini meditation, it was Kundalini dance, and it was in an ashram in India when I was quite young. And I'll actually demonstrate a little bit of, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Kundalini and some aren't, but I'll just demonstrate a little bit of what I experienced and what it is. So it's really just starting with shaking the body. Shaking all of the body, which is really good for the lymphatic system, really good for the nervous system, really good for shaking stuff out. Sometimes when I'm doing ecstatic dance, excuse my top there, because I do my own dance practice, I'll just do this. And we would shake like this in a huge group of people in an ashram until there was this really strong, energetic Kundalini vibration happening. And then all of a sudden, people would just break out into dancing, and it was the most powerful, energetic, exquisite sort of movement that I'd ever experienced. I used to just hang on for this every week, and I was only a small child. You may hear traffic noise at my place. I'm recording in my front enclosed balcony because it's the best light. And what I experienced with that moved me. I'm really, really grateful I experienced that as a child, because I couldn't intellectualize and rationalize it away, or this powerful spiritual experience that I had. What happened was it gave me a thirsting for it, and there was something very tribal and primal about it. And I mean, Kundalini shaking is about base chakra, base chakra, and kundalini energy, which, you know, is that base energy that drives everything else, you know, like it just drives all up through the other chakras, if that's what you're into. You know, I don't subscribe to any one thing, but I draw from many things, and that's what soul movement's about. And I could feel this raw primal energy coursing through me, and it meant that all thought had ceased, and there was just pure spirit moving. And this is something that I want to gift to you through soul movement. This is something that is so special to me, and I have thirsted for this my whole life. And interestingly enough, I've not found it in the way that I teach. And teach is not the right word, the way I facilitate, hold space and gift, because that's what I do, you know. And because you teach me, that's really what happens when I'm holding space and guiding and facilitating is, you know, I believe that people are the experts in their own lives, and they bring the knowledge of themselves and their soul moving and their spirit shifting and their spirit awakening and their wildness breathing. Because that's something else I want to touch on is, you know, I experienced this incredible wildness, you know, within myself and within a group. And I have, you know, that was the most freeing experience I've ever had in my life. And something I hold very, very dear. So when I hold space in soul movement, you know, I really bring in a tribal essence. And there is, you know, in ecstatic dance, there's no right or wrong way to move. There's no instruction as far as, you know, move your foot here and your leg there, and, you know, we're going to do this movement now. And there's nothing wrong with that sort of movement. It's fabulous, you know, as well. But this is just a different type of movement. And so it's about trusting where you're being led in your body, trusting the vibration, trusting yourself, trusting guidance from me, because I'll be creating safe space to begin with, and that's really important. And just accessing breath, movement, and there's something so soothing about it, so soothing. And we start with gentler music just to explore that. Of course, there's warming up first in any way that you choose. Just even watching myself do that movement is soothing for me. And it's okay in the beginning part of dancing, those initial starting phases, you know, to feel awkward, to feel like this is very foreign. I know when I did my very first ecstatic dance class, that would have been 5 Rhythms class in Melbourne, and that was probably, I think 15 years ago now. I remember being stuck in the one spot. I wasn't going to move from that spot, which is totally fine. And I had this whirlwind of colour and dances and movement all around me. But then something else happened. there was kind of like about 20 minutes in, you know, once my own movement loosened up, I still didn't move from the spot, but I started experiencing my soul moving. And then again, eventually my spirit shifting. And what happened was I ended up being so moved by this experience. Tears were just streaming down my face because there was such freedom in it, such bliss, you know, and that is what I want to give to people, you know, because I know the sanctity of it, you know. I want to provide space for people to be able to experience the freedom of ecstatic dance, the bliss of ecstatic dance, the fun, you know, the wildness, you know, it's just such a beautiful thing. And so that was my first experience of ecstatic dance itself. And I've been moving ever since, and I created soul movement after I finished my art therapy diploma, which would have been 7 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago in Melbourne. I currently live in the Northern Rivers in Lismore, which is about 45 minutes inland from Byron Bay. Beautiful part of the world, let me tell you. And where was I? Yeah, so I started facilitating soul movement and exploring what that is and deepening what that is, and developed the 6 qualities of soul movement dance, which I'll talk about further on in other videos. I'll go into more detail with the 6 qualities and explain them. And I just want to touch on some of the things that we do at the start of soul movement as well, to bring you into space. And there's a lot of exploration with ways of being, and sometimes that can look like me, for example, I'm just going to get so it could be one of them that I did actually in Emerald in Victoria was really powerful, and I got this beautiful sound recording of the planet, I think it's a planet Jupiter, and played that while it wasn't this crystal, this is just the one I'm in love with at the moment, selenite, oh my goodness. The dancers passed that around, and they hung on to that for as long as they wanted. The room was, the lights were dim, and I just played the sounds of that. It's the solar winds of that planet, because you can't actually record planets, but you can record the solar winds, and the sound is just so moving. And I played that, and we passed around this crystal really slowly. Each person hung on to it for as long as they needed, and there was just this rocking. And from that space, I started music, and people just moved into the space of their movement because they were already energized, they were already inspired, they'd already explored something that was moving them. So that's just a small example. Another example is sometimes I use cards. So I've made up some cards. That's one of them. She's my favourite. And then I've got descriptions on the back. There's another one. She's called the Dancer, very aptly. That's the Animal Lover. That's the Warrior. She's very powerful. There's the Creator. And I mean, that's just a small example. I've also made some of my artwork as well and put little blurbs on the back. That's the Circle of Life, the sun. That's actually a picture of my eyes, and it's called Eyes. And here's some of my painted work. That's called Shadow Breath, Untamed Heart, and it goes on. And I'll lay those cards out, and we'll each pick a card and then explore what drew each of us to that card. And sometimes that's just expressed in a movement. So that's just a very, very, very small taste tester of what's done at the beginning. And then there's a rise to the music. So the music starts out quite gentle, and I use music from all around the world, all different types of music, all different genres, but I do gravitate towards tribal music, and that rises to what's called release, which is in the midsection of dance that is quite fast and vigorous. It doesn't have to be. The music is. The person can move in whichever way they choose. And so there's that rise, and then there's a rise back, there's a fall, back down again. And we end with what's called grounding, and the music is very gentle. It might be some chanting, sounds of the ocean, whatever it is that's calling me to play at the time. And I've also used live music, didgeridoo, drums, which is really powerful. And in Emerald once, for one of the songs, we had a gentleman playing on piano. That was just lovely. And it's just a beautiful exploratory space, and it's a space that you wouldn't normally get to be in your everyday life. And I think that's one of the most incredible gifts. And then the other thing that happens is quite often there's very subtle, gentle changes that the person discovers themselves, because it's person-centered, that starts expanding out into their life. And I don't need to push for that or dig for that. That will happen transformatively, naturally, because tribal space is sacred, movement is sacred, and soul movement is sacred. So I thank you very much for listening to me, and I ask that you be blessed with movement in whatever way you choose, and I hope to see you again. Please subscribe to my channel. Blessings and Movement, Amy from Soul Movement.